Well, hello everyone. Today I'm going to review another Doctor Who book. I know I haven't done a book review in quite a long time. Today I'm going to review The Bodysnatchers because I finished it yesterday, and yeah. So let's find out if I really dislike it or if I really like it, shall we? So, of course, the story starts off with this man who used to work at a factory, but his hand was injured, so he got fired because he couldn't work anymore. So he goes over to the factory to burn it, to get revenge on the factory owner who fired him, because he's basically really, really poor now, and he's just struggling to survive with his injured hand, and he's definitely gonna die because he's really ill and his hand is really injured, and so he really wants revenge. So he goes over to burn the factory, but then he sees this man with glowing eyes, like orange glowing eyes thingy, and he thinks it's the devil. So he runs away, but then the TARDIS materializes, and the Doctor and Sam come out of it and meet, and he's like, "I have seen the devil" and stuff, but then he disappears. Because there's fog everywhere, so they can't really find him. So they go over to report what's happened to the police, and they decide to stay at George Lightfoot's house, who's of course been in the Talons of Wing Chiang. Unfortunately, Jaco isn't in this because he's on holiday. Yeah, it's said that he's on holiday. So yeah, the Doctor pretends that he's just a colleague of the other Doctors, and he's called the Doctors. Well, so I suppose this is probably chronologically placed before Voyage to Venus and those stories for Lightfoot's point of view. But yeah, then the next day they find the man who's you know been injured in his hand in the Thames, and he's dead, and his limbs have been bitten off. So you know, Lightfoot and the Doctor go over to identify his body, and yeah, he's it's the same guy, even though something weird's happened to his limbs, which is of course the Scarason has bitten, has played around with him, I suppose. Um, The Doctor then talks to the factory owner, and he can tell that something weird's definitely going on. So, and the factory owner really doesn't want him to go into the basement of the factory. But the Doctor does so, but he comes with like loads of really weird excuses, like it's not safe, and it's stuff like that. But then, of course, he's like, okay, fine, you can go into it, and there's nothing there. Um, so the Doctor's like, okay, fine. I guess you're right. I might come back later. Of course, he knows that he's probably just hiding something, so he comes back later. And yeah, he. And meanwhile, he talks to the factory owner's daughter, Emmeline, who well, she can see that something weird's going on with her dad. She then sees her mother's dead, and and she thinks her dad did it. Um, which is understandable. I mean, if he's changed and all that. So she um, teams up with the Doctor, and they infiltrate the Saigon layer, or the Saigon's ship that's underground. Um, then they get attacked by a Scarison just before they can enter, because they see this upside down crab thing. Well, that's what it's described like. It's basically the lock to the ship. And then they get attacked by a baby Scarison. And Sam is really embarrassed because she, freezes and doesn't do anything. But anyways, they then enter the second layer, and it turns out that, spoiler alert, Emmeline is a Saigon. So the factory owner's daughter, Emmeline, is a Saigon. Um, and that's kind of a twist. Then Sam, the Doctor, and Lightfoot are forced to go into the body print machine. Um, of course, the Doctor can resist it because he's a Time Lord, and Lightfoot wakes up at some point, and he, spoiler alert, spoiler, spoiler alert. It's underwater, the Saigon bait thingy. Well, like the only exit thing he could just find is underwater, so he has to swim up. But that's a very long. So the story makes us think that he's drowned, and it's like the end of a chapter. You can see that he's running out of air, and he's sure he's gonna die. Even more spoiler alert, he doesn't die. Of course he doesn't. But yeah, he's very close to drowning. He gets saved by this guy who finds him, and he just barely survives, but he does survive. Um, then the Doctor gets a plan, and he thinks he's gonna save the day. There's this Saigon scientist who is put inside the TARDIS and put the TARDIS in like a time loop thingy, and he has a plan of putting like some stuff in the Saigon's scarabs and milk. Yeah, this is the origin of the idea that the Saigons actually drink scarabs and milk, which is so messed up. Just think about it, scarabs and milk. The Saigons drink scarabs and milk. That is extremely messed up. But yeah, there's a reference to it in the Saigon Fall to Earth as well, which is so goddamn messed up. It's so gross. Anyways, um, so he puts something into the scarabs and milk supply, but unfortunately, spoiler alert, he accidentally kills all of the Saigons by doing this, because they're allergic to the thing, so they all die. Apart from their leader and the Saigon scientist who was inside the TARDIS. Uh, this Saigon leader who's falling apart now, but he can resist it because he says he didn't drink as much as the others. So, but like he's falling apart and dying. He tries to kill the Doctor with the Saigon sting thingy. The Doctor survives because he's a Time Lord, but he plays dead. And Sam is at this point, she's been freed by the Doctor. The Saigon scientist knocks her out. So, yeah, they didn't take the TARDIS and put the Saigon ship on self-destruct mode, so it's falling apart. Then the Doctor and Sam free all the people in the bodysnatchers, known the body print machines, and they all swim up. A few of them drown in the process because it's underwater, as I said earlier. But yeah, then you might think, what happens then? Well, this is kinda the part of the story where it gets bad. So, Lightfoot takes a gun and he shoots the Saigon leader, which is awesome, by the way. But the thing is, there's only one Saigon left now, and a lot of Scaracen, who they freed just before they left the ship. So there's loads of Scaracen running around in London. Then the last 70 pages or so are basically let's stop the Scaracen from eating everyone. And well, it's a bit. It's not that memorable. It's still pretty entertaining, just not as memorable as the rest of the story. It's great build up, but then it's kinda oh, that's how the Doctor got out of it. Okay, so basically the way he gets out of it is he puts all the Saigons inside his TARDIS and puts them on a peaceful planet along with the Saigon scientist, who then gets in the prologue thingy. It says that he has 28 he gets 28 children and lives a happy life. I'm not kidding. Um, then yeah, that's not too good. But then he says goodbye to Lightfoot, and that's really where the story ends. Then there's for characters, we have the Doctor, George Lightfoot, and Sam. Then we have Emmeline, and we have two side characters that aren't in it that much, called Albert and Jack, who are body snatchers. They basically steal bodies, and there's a subplot about them, very tiny subplot, but they don't even meet the Doctor. It's just like this. Jack's like a hardcore guy. Well, he's like really a psychopath, and Albert isn't. He's just like a normal person who has to be a body snatcher, and well, they try to blackmail the person that sells them. That they sell the bodies to. Then it turns out he's a Saigon, and he basically kills Albert. And then Jack goes even more insane and rips out a guy's tongue. A guy that says the only reason he saw that was probably because he was drunk when he goes to a bar and explains that he saw a dragon and stuff. Then they decide to burn that in the factory, and then he gets eaten by a Scaracen later on. That's really what he does. Not very memorable, but anyways, Lightfoot's really good in this. I mean, he shoots the Saigon leader on one scene, which is pretty cool, even though it is kind of an anticlimax. That's like how they get out of it. Well, that's how they kill the last evil Saigon, because it turns out the Saigon scientist is actually pretty nice, I suppose. So yeah, that is kind of an anticlimax, but it's still awesome. You know, the scene where he just shoots a Saigon, and it just like it's described that the body parts of the Saigon just splashes out everywhere, and it's really messy, which sounds pretty awesome, especially because the Saigon was already like dying because he'd drinking the Scarus and milk and stuff. But yeah, um, then the Doctor, yeah, he's pretty good, and there's nothing special. He's just Paul McGann, so he's always good, I suppose. And well, Sam, she's a bit annoying in the first half, but then she gets really good in the second half. And she does make some very dark jokes about the body print machine, which is always nice. Um, yeah, then for negatives, well, there's this one negative about the Saigon Warriors. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. So basically, it turns out that normal Saigons are white. And they're not orange, they're like a whitish color. And they don't really have that many suckers, they only have like a few suckers. And the reason why is because all Saigon warriors have been castrated. That is so stupid. That is the biggest negative in the world. That is really, really stupid. But you can ignore that. I would say just ignore that page. Well, like that, those lines that say that. Well, it's fine that Well, no, it's actually just really stupid. Why would normal Saigons be white and not have as many suckers? Yeah, I don't buy that. Just pretend that never happened. That's what I did. Pretend it never happened. Um, Other negatives. Well, of course, it's kind of an anticlimax. The end is a big anticlimax. Really not what I had been expecting. Uh, but that is kind of my negatives, I suppose. Overall, well, it is a good story. I do have a lot of positives about it. It's very enjoyable. The Victorian setting does suit the story very well. It is enjoyable. It's good fun. I'll highly recommend it if you're new to the Doctor Who books, or if just in general. But this is a great jumping on point. Really, really good. An enjoyable story. The Saigons are very good, apart from the anticlimax. The Scarison actually have a lot to do in this, and they are actually very good as well. It is pretty good. Well, pretty brilliant actually. Apart from those two negatives, but both of those negatives are quite big. So overall, 8 out of 10. A good book, but it does have some very big negatives. Only 2 though, but they're very big. That's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time for another video. Bye everyone.